Welcome to the Detail Solutions podcast. You know who it is. It's me. It is him. It's Alex Russell, your host, the one you love so much. Appreciate you guys for listening. Before we dive into this episode, again, I have a super important request. It's that time of year again. The Detail Solutions podcast. We want to be nominated for the Golden Mike Award at Mobile Tech Expo. So if you've enjoyed the education, entertainment, and value that I brought to the detailing community, please head over to mte.live. Click on the awards and nominate us, or you can go to mte.live/golden Mike award and nominate us for this prestigious honor. Really, if you're watching right there, I want to put the award right there. So when you guys watch, you could see that's all of us. Mike right there, you know. Um, your support means the world. Definitely helps me push through and want to do this every week and on and on and on. So please do that. Also, if you plan on coming to Mobile Tech Expo and you haven't purchased your tickets yet, mte.live. You can use the code DSP10. That'll save you 10% off of any tickets you buy, the education days, the expo days, or all of it together. So, with no further ado, let's get on to this week's episode. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
You can hear us okay?
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah. So, how's the weather out there? You guys dealing with any craziness?
Mm. Mm.
So, you get a little snow in Dallas and everything shuts down. I mean, we were closed, not because we can't handle the snow, but just being out there is just ridiculous. And so, what you do is just you let it subside for a day or two, and then tomorrow to be 50 degrees, it all goes away and it's back to normal.
Hey, listen, it was in the 30s here yesterday, and then today ended up being in the 70s.
Yeah.
So, typical Florida. We don't know what we want.
Yeah.
we want it cool, but then we bitch about it, so then it goes hot again.
Yep.
So yeah. So so we got the opportunity to meet at SEMA. Thankfully, we just happened to be eating at the same restaurant. You guys had been looking for Aquatek, happened to see us and came over. We struck up a conversation, got to learn a little bit about you guys. So, I wanted to have you on here to kind of dive into the whole like brick and mortar retail space with you guys. So, my first question is like, how did you guys get into this? I mean, were you guys operating a detailing business before and then was like, let's start a store, or what's your journey to opening the refinery?
So the journey is a long one. It definitely feels that way. It's not something that we were actively in. I've always been involved with cars. So my, you know, I think I've always been, involved in the automotive scene in some degree. I've got a small motorsports company outside of all the detailing stuff. I've detailed, not professionally by any means, but off and on. And then Erin was working a corporate job at the time, and she's a very social person, and corporate jobs and being in cubicles and stuff like that is not very social. So this is us collaborating. It was like, hey, what can we do to be in the automotive space, but have an opportunity to be more social, interact with people, learn, teach. We do both. So that's kind of where detailing was a good fit. Erin wasn't going to jump in on the motorsports stuff with me, so
you don't want me to. I don't know anything about the underneath of cars. You don't want me.
This was a good middle ground, and something that we're still passionate about, and something that we could both do, and something that we could involve our family into, and so detail stores. That's kind of the lineage of how it got going.
Right. So did you kind of like just see a need for it and was like, hey, what if we did this? Or was it always kind of like, let's just open a store and sell detailing products and hope for the best?
That's a good question. We knew we wanted to have a family business. So it's John and I, and then my parents. So we're in the business together. We're family owned and operated. And so we looked at a whole bunch of things that we could do. And we originally were looking for a franchise because we wanted a business model to follow. And so we looked at things all the way up to like a UPS store. But then because it's a franchise, it's a system, there weren't very many in our area. And then we were like, you know what? No offense, UPS, but that's boring. And people come in, they're not really happy. Like, we want to do a happy thing and something that we really like. We don't want to just start a business just to start a business. Anybody could, do a UPS. What about a Dunkin' Donuts? What about a coffee shop? What about a this? What about a that? And so I literally was on business websites, like, because we never owned a business before. And so we were
Right.
thinking, what if we start with a foundation that someone has already laid? That could help us because we don't have experience with having a business. So if we could get some of that guidance, that would be great. So I found a detailing store franchise, and it was a single brand franchise. And that franchise lasted for about 18 months. And then we decided, hey, this franchise model actually isn't for us. And so it doesn't support the needs that we have in the DFW area, and it doesn't support us business owners, what we had planned for ourselves as business owners. We thought after we developed it, like, hey, this actually isn't where we wanted to be in business. And so we decided to close that franchise, and we said we need to offer more for the DFW area. We did some research on that franchise initially, and there was a store in our market, and did well. And we went down there and visited it and all this other stuff, and it seemed great, and it was while it lasted. And then we just said, you know what, we need to take a different direction. And so we did, and we learned a lot in those 18 months, and we met a lot of fantastic people in the automotive industry in Dallas and Fort Worth, and it's been great. We met tons of people. I like to say that John and my dad Joe are the car people, and my mom Elena and I are the people because they remember everybody based on their cars, and my mom and I remember everybody based on their face, and we remember their name, right? And John will be like, "Oh,
Right.
that guy who drives that black Mustang, blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Oh, Bill," and he's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
yeah."
I mean, look, when we were, like Erin was saying, we were at the onset, we were looking at different businesses, but we just didn't want to do anything just for the sake of doing that thing. It had to be something that could be fun, that could be beneficial, that could serve our community. And, as big as the Dallas area is, as big as DFW is, there really was a need for it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of detailers, but there just wasn't a lot of places to go to get real products, to get real knowledge, to get training. There's a couple great stores in the area, don't get me wrong. But Dallas is a massive area. It's a huge population. And so it was like, this is the way that we can serve this community better by this type of business at the same time of accomplishing some of the goals that we set out to do.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. So when you were looking at all of the like business franchise, right? Like you said, the UPS and the Dunkin' Donuts, was it more of like, hey, we're kind of car oriented, so maybe let's look more into something that deals with cars, that kind of led you into that
Yeah. Yeah,
detail store?
There's no passion to open up a detail. I'm sorry, a UPS store. There's no
I
passion to.
love boxes.
Yeah, there's no passion there. So so at the end of the day, we wanted to be involved with something that we could actually get behind. I mean, it's important to us. It's we're in the automotive scene. I still race. We still go to car meets. We're still out there. So this is something that day in and day out, we do. And it's I don't think that you could do that with name X franchise. I don't know if you could have that same type of involvement outside of just thinking of dollars and cents. Like if you just want a business, you just want a franchise for the sake of making money, that's great. But it's that because we are in business, but we are passionate about what we do. So
Right, yeah, you still wanna enjoy, what you're doing, right? What's the old saying, "If you love what you're doing, you never work a day in your
Hmm.
life," kinda thing?
Yep.
So, I mean, I can see that because, yeah, you wake up every morning, it's like, "Time to make the donuts," if you got a Dunkin' Donuts, but, like,
Yeah.
how quickly does getting up to make the donuts, start to become like,
Yeah.
I gotta get
That's
up and
right.
make the
That's right.
donuts,
Yeah.
where, the at least with the detail store, you guys have interest in that. And then, Aaron, with you being a people person, everything like that, especially everybody
Hmm.
that comes through, you're like probably getting to talk to, hundreds of people a day to keep that, personality, the
Yeah,
vibe that
it's
you have
super
going.
fun. And I think a couple things about with the business too is like we like to hear people's stories. So everyone has a story, and when it relates to their vehicle, people have a barn find and they bring it in, or they say, "Hey, I need to get this cleaned up so I can drive it over here." And they show us pictures, or, "Hey, this was my dad's car," or, "Hey, I bought this from my neighbor because her husband passed away and she didn't know what else to do with it. And I told her I would take care of it. And now here I am." And so many things, or, brand new cars. I just got this from the dealership and
Like
I'm
first new
coming.
car,
Yeah,
like
it's my first new car. I'm coming over here. Or, "Hey, we just bought our son or our daughter a car and
Yeah.
we want to surprise them with something." Or, "Hey, I want to learn how to take care of my car better." We teach classes. My dad teaches the classes, basics of detailing and a paint correction class, and he went out to California and got certified through PNS. So we are just making stuff up here, but he's always been a car guy for as long as I remember, and always had a passion for cars, and always worked on them himself. I don't think I ever took my car to a shop unless like he was out of town or something like that. And the same for John. He's
Right.
always just worked on vehicles, known about them, had a passion for them, and enjoyed a clean vehicle. I enjoy a clean vehicle. My 6-year-old doesn't give a crap about a clean
Yeah.
vehicle.
Listen, listen, it doesn't change. My 15-year-old yesterday, I'm like, "Hey, can you get your Starbucks, trash out of my car?" She's like, "What
all
Starbucks
of it.
trash?" I'm like, From the morning when we went to Starbucks before school?" And she's like, "I don't see it." I'm like, "What do you mean you don't
Yep.
see it? I know you didn't throw it away at school." She's like, "Oh, I'm sitting on it." I was like,
Oh, that's amazing. So nothing gets better. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, like, look at
"Yeah, no,
you
yeah,
detail, and so like those conversations ahead of time, right? So people come in, they say, "Hey, I want you to take care of this for me," or afterwards, after you return the car to someone, and they're like, "Wow, this is the best I've ever seen it. This car has never looked so good." You kind of get those endorphins popping off because you kind of getting that instant gratification and feedback. We do
oh,
that
exactly,
times
yeah,
X amount of people a day. So it's people
right,
coming in that they're like, "Oh, my 6-year-old spilled something on a seat. What do I do? This kind of emergency. It's a brand new car. They're freaking out." And you go, "Well, let me show you three,
yeah."
four options, and this is how I would go about it." And then when it works, they're pumped, and it's just a good feeling, and we get to have those conversations with people. So that's kind of why we went this route.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, no, that's awesome. So, kind of not coming from a traditional professional detailing world, right? Because most people that are going to, open a distribution or a store or something like that are typically coming from running a professional detail shop, yada, yada, yada. So, not coming from that, what has kind of been, um, the, uh, what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, I think what you're getting to is there's a learning curve, right?
Well, Alex, go for it. Well, yeah, but I mean, like, how's the response been, to somebody who is a detailer, maybe has been doing it for years, and now they're coming to buy a product from you, and you guys are just kind of like a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
new.
I
I mean, yeah,
agree.
you're probably learning a little bit on the go. You probably obviously have done your research leading up to. I mean, obviously, you guys asked us a ton of questions about Aquatech
Sure.
before even, getting to a stage of talking about the possibility. So it's not like you guys are just like willy-nilly handing out products. You guys do have a little bit, but again, like as a detailer, like when I typically go to ask somebody about a product, like I can tell right off if they don't know the
Sure.
full, if they're just kind of like reading the back of the bottle. So how's the response kind of been for you guys on that with detailers?
I don't mind tackling that. I mean, we have
Yeah.
different experiences, of
Yeah.
course, because I think being a female in a male dominated industry, sometimes it's a little bit more challenging. I have to qualify myself a little bit sometimes, and I'm okay with that. I'm kind of used to that at this point, but we also are pretty truthful and honest. We are customer focused, and we don't beat around the bush. If I've not used a product before, I just say I don't use that product. I haven't used it before, but everybody who has used it tells me these things about it, and that it does work and that they do enjoy it, and this is how they have used it. So I don't shy away from, hey, I haven't used that one item. We have what, 200 products in our store,
Yeah.
and I can't
More.
to say, yeah, I've used every single one of these. I mean, come on, is that really practical? Probably not. Maybe over a
Yeah.
certain lifetime, yes, but we've had the bandwidth we have in the products in the store now for a year, and I just haven't been able to use them. I would have to wash my car every single day if I wanted to use everything in
Yeah.
store. So we don't shy away from stuff like that. I don't shy away from, hey, let me look it up online real quick. Let me review not just what the company themselves say, but let me look at some other websites and see what other customers are saying about this product and if it works. But we also tell people, every single person that shops with us, if they get a product and it doesn't perform the way they expected, if it doesn't perform the way they wanted, or they just aren't happy with the results for whatever reason, bring it back to us. We're happy to swap it out for something different or just get a refund. We're not in the position to put you where you pick up something, you're not happy with it, now you're stuck with it. Like, we want to know.
Yeah.
We teach classes. I always tell people, don't worry, we'll use it. If you don't like it, that's okay. Not every product is going to be for every person. So if you don't like it, bring it back, and we'll put it in one of our classes, because we teach enough classes and there's enough people that, we can even put it out as a sample product. And we're happy to demo things for people on their vehicle or our own vehicle. If they're just not convinced, we'll go out there and do a test and see if it works. And if it does, then great. And if it doesn't, well, let's try something different. So I don't shy away from that stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, because that's the one thing, as a detailer is, a lot of times you can't just go test something, maybe MTE, maybe
Sure.
SEMA, because obviously everybody's got a polisher and a hood in their booth, and, they're kind of, letting you run with it. But that's kind of neat because, a lot of times you're spending, you know, $40 to $60 on a quart of compound or polish to hope and a
If it does
prayer
what
that
you
it's
want it
going to
to.
do what it's going to do. Right, right. And the one thing that I've learned in this industry is just because it works for you might not work for me, or because it works on this paint, it's not going to
Right.
work on that paint. And there's a lot more to it than just the single product. It's what pad are you, how are you doing it with a pad, how are your techniques as far as hand speed, pressure, all that stuff. So that's very interesting. It's very cool that you could do that, because um I don't know. I mean, the only place that I shop here locally is Sky's the Limit Car Care, and Corey doesn't even have uh, a lobby anymore. So you can't even like try to do anything. It's you just place the order
Pick it
online,
up.
and then they have
Yeah.
it like, yeah, they have it outside in a little bin. You just go pick it up. So that's a cool
I mean,
thing.
look
You
at
guys do
to
that.
go back to that other question too. I mean, we tell people all the time, just straight up, we're learning every day. I learn new tips and tricks from detailers that come in that I make one recommendation and they say, well, this is the way that I do it, and my mind is blown. We learn stuff every
Yeah.
day, but we let people know we're very open minded to trying to new products and new things, and most of our detailers in the area are the same. So we make recommendations based off of that. I never detailed for a paycheck, so I never did it. Like I'm advertising, I'm John Beatty detailer. But I've worked on enough cars, I've detailed enough cars to have a real good basis of knowledge, and then the rest has just been learning. With our detailers, they say, oh, you should try out this stuff. I'll even if I'm not a vendor or distributor for that brand, I'll buy it and try it and use it and see what it's
Right.
about. And if it's if it's as great as some people say it is, well, hey, we look in a little deeper to see about carrying it. So, once again, we both have a different way to approach it, and we are approached a little bit different, like I said, because of the kind of male dominated area. But once again, people are willing to work with us because we're working with them. We're learning, they're learning, and it's no one's walking in going, well, you're not a pro detailer for 25 years, and I need to see your resume before I buy a product
Yeah.
from you.
Yeah, it's actually kind of nice when we
Yeah.
have detailers come in because they'll happy to tell you their history and whatnot, and it's great because I get to learn from them. I get to ask questions to them, and sometimes we even have multiple detailers in the store at the same time, or we have a DIYer and a professional detailer, and then they start talking, and it's just awesome to see the connection together. So a pro detailer helping another
Right.
pro detailer, or a detailer is getting connected with a potential client because they're buying some stuff at our store, but maybe they want them to do some other work for them. So we also really focus on networking. We don't offer detailing service at our store. We have a bay, and our detailers can rent the bay from us, and that's where we teach our classes. And then anyone can rent the bay, even a DIYer. It doesn't matter who it is. Anybody can rent the bay to wash, polish, paint correct, ceramic coat, whatever. So we don't want to compete with our detailers. It's just an amazing market in DFW for our pros. We take everybody's business card if they want to leave one. And then when people ask us for recommendations, we give them a couple, and they call them and find out who it is that they want to work with. And we try to pick out people who are in the area. We have lots of mobile people. But yeah, for the professionals, it's actually fun to learn their story, their history, and they can help teach us. And I think they kind of like that too. I think
Yeah.
people like to share their experience, and then for us to be able to absorb that information is like, I'm not shy about, hey, I don't know that. Can you help educate
Right.
me? Because I don't want to be I'm never the smartest person in the room, and I think that's okay because I better go to a different room if I'm the smartest person in the room.
Yeah. Well, I think also too, I mean, in my experience, a lot of times having a conversation with other detailers who, have that life experience. Sometimes you get a little intimidated or whatever. So, it's probably a little bit easier with, a couple like you who are kind of very open, like, hey, we don't know everything, because then it might feel like you're not asking a stupid question, right? Like, of course, there's never a stupid question, but there's been a few times that I've approached some of the people that I look up to this industry and I'm like, man, like I really want to ask him this, but like it's gonna come off as a stupid question. And then like how, thankfully nobody's really like been like, that's a stupid question, Alex. But still, like, with you guys, there might be a little bit more comfortability there and not, kind of like unprofessional detailer guy, like, whatever. The other cool thing that I like, you guys both mentioned it a couple times being male dominated industry is, Aaron, I bet it has to be great for any of the female detailers in the area when they come in to see you, that if they're, maybe a little, again, unsure to talk to John or whoever, and they see you and they're like, oh, a girl, I could talk
Yeah,
to a
yeah.
girl, kind of thing. Because I've been fortunate enough to talk to a few of the ladies in the industry on this podcast and become friends with obviously a few of them. And that is kind of one of their things is sometimes they, you know, are a little standoffish about which guys they go up to and talk to because of that whole, male dominated thing or whatever. So I bet that's going to be a good thing for them that you're there.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it eases women up because I remember, even when John and I were dating before we even moved to Texas 10 years ago, like when we go to a shop or a store or a Napa or wherever car part
Yeah.
counter, like I'm like,
He's sending you in for blinker fluid, laughing
yeah,
at the
right,
car.
yeah, right, yeah,
We
yeah. He's
wouldn't be
like, make sure
married
you
if I
get a
did that,
left,
but
make sure you get a left wiper and not a right wiper.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's cool. Or like I'm standing in a cold store because everybody's hot and the air conditioner's on. It just feels like a wet basement. Like,
Yeah.
it's not, that's not like encourage and go to, but we've had lots of women come to our store
Mhm.
and they feel a lot more comfortable if they don't feel as intimidated, I guess is what I
Right.
want to say.
Yeah.
Because either my mom's there or I'm there, not necessarily all the time or all day, but we answer those questions a little bit more relatable, can make, more female centric jokes that the guys are like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
don't need to know this, go away.
Well, one
Right.
one thing that was really interesting when we got started was, we took some feedback from some people that were running other stores, and they were like, "Here's how you do your marketing. Here's how when you want to do an advertisement, only advertise to men that are 18 to
35 or
30
whatever. Yeah.
men,
Yeah.
have these interests." And we immediately started advertising. If we were doing any type of promotions or any type of just straight advertisement, we would advertise to men and women, because some of our best detailers, some of our like most passionate clients are women. I mean, every guy is a car guy, but the women that get involved, they get all the way involved.
Yeah.
Like they
Committed.
take a deep dive into the whole thing, and they're actually, they come out on the other side of this thing either more patient, more passionate, and so very early on we kind of ignored
Bad advice
the bad
to not
advice to
advertise
just
to women. Yeah.
to not advertise to women. Yeah, I mean, women own cars and they want them to be clean too. What the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, and even if they don't want to do it themselves, we had plenty of men come into the store and say, "Hey, my wife showed me your advertisement. She saw
Oh,
this on
cool.
Facebook. She saw this on Instagram." But then also a way for women too is like a lot of times women have a hard time finding what to gift their significant other, their
Yeah.
car centric person, or maybe it's their kid or something like that. They don't know what to do. But here we are now. I don't want to just say advertising to women, but putting ourselves out there for everyone to see. And now they say, there's a store that my husband would enjoy. I can go there and I can confidently get something for that person, even if it's just a gift card to a place that they would enjoy.
Right.
So, we did definitely ignore that advice, and
Yeah.
I will always ignore that advice. And I think that I have two older brothers. And so when I tell people that, they say that explains a lot. And I have always been the girl, the woman, when someone says no, I say yes. And I say, F that. I'm going to do it anyways. And if you tell me this is a male thing, I'm going to go right over there and I'm going to say, well, I can do that too. Or I
Yeah.
can do that. I'm not necessarily saying I can do that better, but I can do that too. So, like, we aren't ever going to just be male centric. Everyone has a car. Our clients are people who have vehicles. And
Yeah.
so, women have cars, women enjoy cars. There are women only car clubs around here,
Oh, that's cool.
So we thought about having a ladies' night. We just haven't got to that point yet. But
Right.
we host industry night, and so we host a night where it's industry professionals for anybody in the detailing industry, PPF, tint, stuff like that too. But yeah, we definitely focus on making sure that women are comfortable in the store and that they know that they're allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once
But
again,
yeah.
it goes back to, you're not going to come into the store and ask a stupid question. It's
Yeah.
fine if you don't know. We're going to walk through it regardless. So, all those walls and barriers start to come down, and it just becomes a, a comfortable place to know, or to come get whatever you need, whether you're, a 20-year pro, or literally just spilled the coffee and
Yeah.
don't know what to do about it.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, and that's cool to have like a cool place like that, or some place where you could, it's almost kind of like the old skate shops growing up, or the comic book stores or whatever. It's not only a place you're going to go and buy stuff from, but it's also a place you're going to go and kind of like hang out a little bit at, and you're also know that you're going to run into some like-minded person that again, like you said, whether it's pro talking to a pro, or pro to DIY or enthusiast or whatever. There's that camaraderie that is happening there at your store. You mentioned the industry night and trying to do like a ladies night and things like that. So Does that kind of like come from the car culture background of, like the car shop of, because typically like a cars and coffee or a car hangout or something like that, did that, kind of, because I don't know that I've even seen any of the, detail supply companies here in Orlando area doing something like that. So, that's to me kind of unique that you guys are
Well, they're
doing
missing out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we do a really big monthly cars and coffee style event,
Um,
which is great. I mean, we usually get a ton of other vendors. North Texas has an amazing car culture, so there's really an eclectic mix of cars that show up to all of our cars and coffee. I mean, straight drag racers to hypercars to literally everything. But that serves that gives people an outlet to bring their cars out. But then those other types of things that we do at the store, like Erin mentioned, having industry night, that was just a night to get detailers together, shoot the breeze, connect. I mean, if you're straight booked and but you don't want to lose a client, can you connect to another qualified detailer and maybe sub out some of the work so that you don't say no to a customer, no to a client, and still service them, but without losing any business.
yeah.
We have a new company that just does dry ice blasting. Well, some of our detailers, some of our mobile guys aren't going to buy the equipment to do dry ice blasting. Well, they connected with a guy so they can do some of that work with each other. So industry night was fantastic. And we had an industry brand there kind of hosting it too to answer questions. Having something like a ladies' night or doing some of these other things that we've done with individual car clubs. It just is our way of being able to give back to certain car groups. And yeah, and maybe it does derive a little bit from being in car clubs and stuff like that, growing up. But yeah, it's just our way to give back. So it isn't just a store, because that's
Yeah.
just not what it is.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And it's gotta be great too, because the store's right there. So it's like, I maybe need something, or, shoot, I forgot that I needed something or
Sure.
whatever. Yeah. Um, so yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we wanted to do that industry night to bring our professionals together so that they could network with each other as well. We want to be before we even decided what business we wanted to open, we knew that community involvement and community support was extremely important to us. And so being a Dunkin' Donuts didn't necessarily fit that. Being a UPS didn't fit that. Being in the car culture did fit that, and car community, but we also knew that didn't want to be an oil change location or
Yeah.
changing tires out, stuff like that. And then when we found the detail shop, it was like, okay, that sounds like a great way to serve people in a way that they're going to come in and they're going to be happy to be there. And then if there's something wrong with their car, we can help them and they can be happy with the results, So we're
Yeah.
kind of like on this up kind of aspect of it. And so community involvement was huge for us. And so when we started the Cars and Coffee events, we support a nonprofit at every single event, whether it's a school supply drive, a food drive, teddy bears for the Children's Hospital, or the Children's Advocacy Center, or we did Toys for Tots run with a local community Cannonball Run. They did a rally from another location to our store and brought tons of toys. We had like 6 Toys for Tots boxes full
Oh,
of
wow.
It
toys.
was a whole truck bed.
It was a whole truck bed. Yeah, it was massive. So that was an amazing event. And so we have the car community here is so giving, and every month we just get massive amount of donations. And so we incentivize people. If you bring a donation, you're going to get a raffle ticket, and your raffle ticket gives you a chance to win a $75 gift card to our store. So, we're giving something away for that too, but
Yeah.
ultimately people don't necessarily care about the raffle ticket as much. They want to support. So they come
Right.
and hang out. We have a food truck. We have some other vendors there for them to participate with as well. And it's hosted at our store, but it's a community event. And so it brings a lot of people here about our store because they heard about the car meet. So they come. We have some regular people who come every single month, and they just love hanging out and seeing what shows up. We give away free coffee and donuts as long as they last. So if you show up, the car meet starts at 9 and you're there at 8:50, you're probably going to run out of coffee. So those are really fun events for us. It really brings people together. And we've had a lot of people make networking connections at car meets. Lots of photographers. There's tons of photographers around
Yeah.
who do automotive photography, and they're fantastic. And so they've met some clients of theirs at our store, like, hey, let me take some pictures of your car. Let me get in touch with you. And then later on, all of a sudden, you see that photographer doing rollers of that vehicle going down the highway. So it's pretty cool to see everybody get connected and where they go from there. So it's just fun.
Yeah. No, it definitely seems like it's a cool environment and a fun, kind of atmosphere. Again, I don't, and I could be completely wrong. I don't pay that much attention to the detail stores, but I've never heard of somebody like, oh man, they're doing a car show or a car, whatever at such and such place. Um, to make me go like, maybe I'll go down there or whatever. Granted, I always buy my stuff online, so
I get it.
it's mostly listen. It's mostly because I want to support my friends directly. Like, yeah, I could buy their product at wherever, but I know, like, okay, it's helping that place buy more product from them, but that place is getting it at a huge discount. I'd rather give all of the money to my friends.
So
And
we're not friends.
well, I mean, I don't know. Do you guys live in Florida or what?
No,
I don't know. We could be friends soon. Who knows? But yeah, no. I mean, it's and honestly, other than Corey's like half a mile from my shop, so he's the easiest one for me to buy from because I can literally go like, oh shoot, I don't have any more pads, I don't have any more whatever, and I go online and I make the order and I count to like 10 and then I close my shop door down. It takes me like 2 minutes to drive there, and then usually I'm like, hey, I just made an order, can you grab it for me? And they're like, we haven't even gotten to it yet, hang on a second, like,
we needed you to count to 15.
yeah. I drive back and it's like a 5-minute round trip, and even Corey's like, dude, you're the like closest detailer to, like, there's nobody closer to him or
That's
whatever,
funny.
so yeah. So you mentioned earlier about having like over 200 products, so kind of making that switch from the old detail store that you were to this new one pretty recently, right?
Mhm.
Um, what was that store multiple products as well, or when you went into this, what was your process or thoughts of like, okay, what brands do we get? Because there are so many, and every day that seems like there's 15 more new ones. So, like, how did you guys distinguish, like, okay, this brand, this brand, this brand, that brand?
That's a good question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so when we switched away from the franchise, we actually joined a different model called Detailing World.
Okay.
And one reason that we basically tried two models at this point, right?
Okay.
And so the second model was Detailing World, and the brands were already chosen by Detailing World to bring in. And so when we started having conversations with Detailing World and they started to present the opportunity for us to become a Detailing World after we had terminated the franchise, we said, well, actually, this model sounds pretty good. The groundwork is already there. Again, a foundation that we were initially looking for when we first started. And so the brands were brought in, and we had lots of conversations about, well, what the business was and what to expect, and what different margins were and who the suppliers were and how all of that worked. And so we tried that for a couple of months, and probably after, I guess we opened in February, and probably by, I think, August, we decided we needed to make another change. And it took us until the beginning of November to finally lay out what that was. And the bottom line was it just wasn't supportive enough of DFW. There wasn't the flexibility to bring in additional brands or additional bandwidth with the brands that were already there. And so we realized that we needed more flexibility and we needed more control over what we could bring our clients in DFW. Detailing, we were the first detailing world in Texas, and our market is completely different. And detailing world is up in the Northeast, and our market's completely different than their market. And so I think that it was a good step in the right direction to be able to bring in some of the right products, but ultimately we need to be able to serve our clients better, and we need to be able to say yes to when they ask us for something in addition to what we already have, and not, I can't do that. So we needed to be able to do that. So we decided to make a switch, and so we changed our name, we rebranded. So we've rebranded in Prosper, Texas. We were one store, we were a second store, and now we are a completely independent store. This is all us. The refinery is on John's shirt right here and on mine. So the refinery detail supply house is fully our store. We're not licensed under anyone else. We are our own, and independence feels freeing and exciting because you're right, there are 1,000 brands out there, and now we get to vet them. And I think some of the brands that we had previously under the DW name aren't items that our clients are interested in. And so we kind of have to now make some room on the shelf and bring in some other ones and expand the lines that we currently have. And so we went to SEMA in November, which is of course where we met you.
Yep.
And we talked to a lot of brands that we already were interested in being direct with, talked to a bunch of new brands that we hadn't heard of before. And then of course we went into the new vendor hall out at SEMA and talked to a bunch of other ones and got connected with BioBombs and House of Rags, and met a bunch of people out that way too, and talked to Angel Wax and met their chemist, and it just was really a fantastic experience.
Good old John.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yep, the mad scientist out there. And some of these suppliers we had already talked to before we even went out to SEMA, so we knew who we were going to talk to. They were expecting us to be there. We set up some appointments with people, so it's not like, I don't want people to think like, oh, you just flipped a switch and you moved on. Like, that is not how any of that works.
It could be corny to some people that don't really know behind the scenes, but the refinery really does have a meaning for us. Because each step of the way we've been refining what we've been doing. Each step of the way we're taking the bits that we like and the things that don't work and adjusting. I think it doesn't matter what your business is. If you're a brick and mortar shop detailer, you're a mobile shop. If you just do the same thing day in and day out, your business is only going to go so far.
Right.
So you have to make adjustments. You have to get rid of the tactics and the things that don't work and find new ways to go about your business. And, as Erin mentioned, there were certain things in one model that just didn't work. They don't work in Texas. And there are brands that are local to us that we couldn't bring in, that are important to people in the area. And we get a ton of feedback. Like I said earlier, we're very open with all of our detailers. Detailers are open with us. And they say, well, how come you don't have this? How come you don't have that? And, we kind of pull all that information together and we go, well, this is something that we got to look harder into, and so we try to vet brands. We try to stay away from anything that's, third party, white labeled. You got to be making it yourself. It's got to be pretty authentic for us to consider it. Why we reached out to Aquatek. Yeah, I mean, it was just something that kind of a smaller brand. Maybe it isn't as well known as it should be. But I mean, it's, you guys are in control of it.
Big things are coming for 2025. People, things coming for Aquatek 2025. So.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. I mean, it's you guys are behind it. You guys know what's in the product. Angel Wax, they know what's in those bottles. I mean, it's those types of brands that we really want to have that relationship with. This, because there are a million brands out there, but you just really have to be careful of which ones are maybe rebranded or white labeled or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, no, and refinery also fits right into the detail world. I mean, you're refining paint or you're refining, leather. It's a great detailing term without being detailing. right?
It's
Yeah,
like,
Like,
yeah. I think a lot of people who we've spoken to, maybe they're blowing smoke, but they all said that they really like the name and Detail Supply House. They're like, oh, I've never heard of Supply House before, but
yeah, yeah,
my dad was a tradesman when I was growing up, and so I used to go to all of these supply houses with him, and it was all PVC pipe, or it was all electrical, or it was all blah 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 because it's a
yeah,
supply house. I'm like, well, we're a supply house and we're in Texas. There's refineries in Texas. And obviously we're not in that much of that
yeah.
area, but like it all
yeah,
kind of fits. Like there's so many pieces that just fit together. And so
yeah,
we were trying to think of a name, and John was very focused on, I want this to be personal. I don't just want to open up John's detail shop,
yeah,
or
yeah,
detail house, whatever. And so I'm a huge like word association person. So I was just like on thesaurus.com, like
yeah,
typing in all of these different words, and
Detailosaurus Rex over here.
yeah, I
yeah,
do love dinosaurs. So I was just like writing all these words, and then the word refine came up, and I was like, okay, so John's like refined something, and I was like, well, what if we aren't refined because the uh, D is a hard end, like you've already
yeah,
been there, you've done that, you're done. I'm like, what if we're a refinery? But we aren't a refinery because this doesn't have anything to do with oil, but we are refining ourselves. And when people come to us, they're refining their vehicle, and we should
yeah,
always be refining ourselves, because when you're stagnant, you're in business, especially if you're not moving, you're dying. Basically, if you're not taking that next
yeah,
step forward, someone else is going to. And then I was like, we should be a detail supply house. So like we wrote down to visually look at everything 1,000 different ways, like detail supplies, detail supply house. What should the spacing be like? What should the website look like?
yeah,
Branding is extremely important. And we've had a ton of compliments on the logo, what it looks like. I think that R was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 different shapes,
Yeah.
9, 10 different shapes or something like that.
yeah.
How many times can you make an R?
Right,
Yeah,
right, exactly. Yeah,
the whole thing
yeah,
is a process. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
but that's the lineage of where we kind of started to where we're going, and and like I said, it all kind of ties in and goes back to, once again, what we do in store, and the brands that we bring in, like you mentioned. I mean, it's just, it's a steady like evolving, a steady process.
yeah. Well, and Supply House does have like a little bit of a fancier ring to it, than like detail store. It's like I'm going to
Yeah.
the detail store, I'm going to the supply house.
That's right. I'm going
It's
to the
like,
slide
Yeah.
house. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Because
I
the
mean,
store is just like, oh, you can get a couple things there. But like,
right.
that's one thing about the refinery detail supply house. Is it store or house? Detail supply house. Is that we really want to expand the offerings. We actually want to be not just somewhere where you can pick up a couple of things. We want to help detailers outfit their business. We want to bring in equipment. This is stuff that we weren't even allowed to bring in before.
Right.
It's like, okay, you can only do what we authorize you to do. And we're like, okay, we thought that was going to be okay. This isn't going to be okay anymore. We tried this model. Let's move away from the model and then do the things that we need to do that are right for our clients and the right thing for our business. Because we have a plan, and we have a visual, and we have goals for our business, and someone else's business goals don't match ours. So it's time for us to just reach for the things that we want to achieve. And so we want to bring in equipment, power washers and extractors and hose reels and things for people to really outfit, because we have so many DIYers here that are like, I have a 3rd bay garage and I put all my cars in there, and I want to do all this stuff. So we want to be organization for people too. We're not just slinging soap here. Like, we don't want people to come in and say, okay, I got a soap and I got to wash it from that place, but now I need to go somewhere else to be able to go
Right.
get all the rest of my stuff. Like, we want to be that place for them to come and say, I can get all my stuff here. And what John mentioned earlier, there's some other detail stores in DFW. They're a little bit smaller, but we're certainly not looking to crush anybody. We are huge. We can all be successful. We are
Yeah.
not in competition with anybody. We went to a couple of the other stores, and John connected with them. I say we, John went and connected with them and talked to them so that we could get to know them. Like, they have sent customers to us. We will send customers to you. Some of them are places that they make their own products, but they also sell a couple of PNS products too, or a couple of IK sprayers or something like that. They have some other
Right.
things, but like, we want to network. We want to get to know these people. We want to work with them and say, hey, let's see how we can collaborate. Or if I'm out of a product, can I call you and send my client down to you? Or can I call you and come get it from you and put it in my store so that I can sell it to them? Whatever, just something like that. Because I really, I really feel like you can't compete with us because we want everyone to be successful. And I know some people probably think that's a stupid business
Yeah.
philosophy, but like we can raise each other up. We don't have to
Yeah.
break each other
Well,
down.
I think it's the same way as like, you always hear about it and detailing podcasts and detailing Facebook groups and everything like there's enough cars for everybody, but then immediately everybody's like, so and so got all the cars today or what, and so like I feel like it's kind of the same for you guys. There's enough detailers I mean, listen, there's plenty of detailers nowadays
Yeah.
Absolutely.
that, there could be, a refinery on every corner like a bank, and each one would still make money, right? Like there's just that many detailers. So yeah, I mean, I could see where you're not, stepping on anybody's toes really unless you guys are, you know, bigger in the sense of have deeper pockets than maybe a smaller store, and you could go to X brand and be like, we want exclusivity, and then now that store can't, get any of the products, which doesn't seem like you guys are that type of people. But you know, there's definitely enough detailers going around that
Yeah,
everybody
Yeah.
there are definitely people that are bigger than us, right? And
yeah,
they're the people that we're trying to shoot for. I mean,
right,
you have the detailed images of the world, and shout out to the Clean Garage, and I mean, there's some big places out there, and I give them
yeah,
all the credit. They've been at this a little bit longer than we have. And they have what seems to be great product mixes, and so there's obviously people going to go to them. If you're just an online shopper and that's the place you want to be, fantastic, great. Everyone should have someone that they're trying to shoot for, and those are some good business models.
yeah,
But we're planning to be there, and
yeah.
there's once again there's we want to see everyone succeed. Everyone's just trying to make a life for themselves, detailers included, and so there's no reason why it has to be more difficult than that.
Mhm.
Right, right. So let's have some fun and ruffle some feathers. Has there been a company that you reached out to that did not live up to the hype? And feel free to say that company name if you want to.
A company that doesn't live up to the hype, as in what category? In what regard?
I mean, maybe they weren't as receptive to you when you reached out. Maybe they
Mm.
acted, kind of a little like, eh, we're
Well,
good, or
well,
uh,
that's a really interesting question because people want to work with us and we want to work with them. And
uh,
we want to work with people who want to work with us. But there have been some doings in the background, some chatter from our recently canceled contract that has caused those suppliers to not want to work with us
oh,
because of some negative chatter from people we used to be associated with. And so you're guilty by association, or people are, I'm, for lack of a better term, sabotaging your own now independent business growth. And so
yeah.
there has been a slight struggle there. Although most of the brands that we have spoken to have said, just let us know when you're done and you're fully free and fully the refinery, and that uh, detailing world termination is complete, and we'll be happy to work with you. And
Oh, that's nice.
so that has been freeing. It's been a little unfortunate because it just kind of feels like uh, you you don't get to state your case. You're, like I said, guilty by association, or yeah. I guess I don't know how to say.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think every industry people have certain loyalties to certain people, and detailing is no different. It's a small knit community. The people that have been doing it a long time know everybody, and so it's unfortunate when some brands take advice from people that aren't even associated with their organization and have those people make decisions for them. Every brand should be able to make their own decisions for themselves. Every
Mhm.
business should be making the decision for themselves. And but once again, everyone has different loyalties to different people. So that weighs into their business decisions, unfortunately. So yeah. from a ruffled, feathered position, it's that one was a little bit interesting for us,
Yeah.
because we have some great connections in the industry with different people, and then to be told, hey, we're going to take a pause working with you just because of something that someone else said
Yeah.
that is not even involved in their organization is pretty surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
to let someone
the,
else kind of determine their
Welcome to the
business.
welcome to the
the
DFW
I mean,
industry.
and the flip side of that is there's been other brands that have wanted to work with us from day one or have open arms.
I've been waiting for us to go
Yeah.
independent. Like,
So
just tell me when you go
Right.
independent, and we'll
Well,
send you stuff the next
that was
day.
gonna be my next question. Like, has there been a brand out there that maybe surprised you? Like, maybe you thought like, ah, man, I don't know if we can get them, and they were like, take us, please, kind of thing.
Aquatek, no, just kidding.
Yeah, well, listen, Aquatech right now is a little easy, like Sunday morning. Okay, so
yeah.
We're excited.
I mean, look at yeah, there's been some bigger brands that were like we know how important the DFW market is. I mean, they're definitely looking at it like a business decision, so
yeah,
they know how important the market is, and they want to make sure that their products are in the hands of people that are going to treat it right, that aren't going to just be out there, like Erin said, slinging soap. I mean, they want brand ambassadors, if you will, people that can talk intelligently about their products. Places where you can go to get trained on their products. So there's been some big brands that are absolutely open arms, super excited to work with us, and great because we're excited to work with them too. Like I said, kind of big things in 2025. There's because of that involvement and because they want to be as involved as they are. We have a lot of factory-led trainings being planned. So it isn't just from us. You don't have to hear it just from me. We're going to actually bring in the reps from these brands, so that you can get that kind of factory-led training that maybe you can't get without flying out to, California or Colorado or wherever these brands are.
right, yeah, yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that because that was going to be it was the next thing I was going to ask you is when you
Hey, how
guys
about
are
that?
doing yeah when you guys are doing these trainings because like you said it's kind of you guys and you guys don't have all the experience in the world. Aaron, I believe you said your dad went out to PNS and got certified and everything, so he's kind of doing that, but that's what I was going to say because I knew you guys had mentioned it to us about us possibly, getting the opportunity to come out and doing an Aquatech, factory led kind of training. So I was going to ask you about other brands that you potentially could be having coming out and doing those trainings and whatnot. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, before we go there, I am excited because we have our first rag company order coming.
Oh, nice.
So I'm excited that we have the rag company coming in. I think that we finally got a chance to talk to them at SEMA, and I think their branding was really on point. And I mean, I know that they've been doing this for quite a while, and
We've been asked for their products for
and endless times asked for the rag company products, and we just haven't been able to bring them on. So it's like one of those things, and customers come in, and some of them are like, "Didn't you just rebrand?" Like, they come in like, "You're doing this again."
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm like, yeah,
Like
dude,
third
ease
time's a
up.
charm.
Like, lay
Third time's a
off,
charm.
bro. Yeah, third time's a charm. And then some of them actually say, we thought Detailing World was you. Like,
Oh,
but because, no, it was only on the East Coast, basically.
yeah.
But here we are now doing this again. And so it's fun to explain to people, oh, yeah, we don't know what we're doing. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
But we tell them, like, hey, independence gives us the opportunity to support you better. You want X product, now I can get X product.
Right.
You've been asking me for the rag company, and now I can bring you the rag company, and I can bring you other things through them as well. So it's encouraging to have that
and those trainings.
And those trainings, yeah, and those factor. I mean, I don't think the rag company is going to come train you on towels or anything like that,
but all those other brands that we talked about, the other people that.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say you never know. I mean, Dane and Anthony, they're pretty good guys. I mean, Levi was my guy at the rag company.
Well, they would come for, a lot of people said they couldn't wait for, our grand opening or grand rebranding, and they would come for a grand opening. And, we have 2 locations too. So we're hitting the Dallas side up in Prosper, then we hit the Fort Worth side out in North Richland Hills. So we're hitting the DFW market pretty good with 2 locations. And the other brand that I was really excited to bring on was BioBonds. A lot of people were asking us about bio bombs or some
Yeah.
fresheners in general or some deodorizers. We didn't really have. We had like one brand of deodorizer and 0 air fresheners. So,
Yeah.
air fresheners was
I'm a big chlorine dioxide fan. I know that's what biobombs is. I don't use biobombs. I actually use odor out from Simonize
Mhm.
because my buddy is a Simonize rep, and his warehouse is in the next building over from me. So,
So I'm catching a theme here of
yeah,
convenience.
yeah, and two, I get the fall off the truck price.
Nice.
So, but no, bio bombs I think are great. Just because of the chlorine dioxide in them, I believe that is way better than ozone ever. Unless you can afford a real ozone machine that sits
Sure.
outside of the car to be able to create ozone.
Yeah.
I actually through one of the past coding companies that I used, I met a gentleman. His name's Bill York. He's up in um, Portland, Maine. Yeah. Um, and his family owns or comes from the medical waste field. So he was the one that actually introduced me to chlorine dioxide over ozone. And he has been, anytime I have odors, I call Bill and I'm like, well, what do I do? He's like, I just throw a couple of them in there. You do this, you do that, da da da. To the point where we even did a show with him to kind of talk about the difference of chlorine dioxide versus ozone, and some of the neat little tips and tricks that you can do with chlorine dioxide that you can't do with ozone. So that's a cool grab.
Yeah, and, I mean, and look, and it just bio bombs. It just makes it really convenient for people, right? It's like you said, without having to get like a true ozone
Yeah.
machine and equipment and all that. This is just really really easy.
Yeah,
Anybody
it's
can do
cheaper
it,
too.
and
Like like I don't I'm not familiar with how they actually come, because I know some of them kind of, and I don't know how biobombs is, but I know some of the chlorine dioxide things come like um already in a cup and you fill it with water. The ones I
Mhm.
get are actually effervescent tablets, so you fill
Yep,
a cup up and drop it in.
I think they have
it's
both
very similar
options.
to
They have
that.
both options. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So and they're very cheap. I mean, like $20 for an application, and if
Hmm.
you're a smart detailer who knows what you're charging, you're not charging $20 to do
Yeah.
chlorine dioxide, so charge more.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's one
So
of the things that the brand professionals, when they come in, be able to help out with the pricing structure for a lot of people. Because I think that's
yeah,
our detailers like number one struggle is they come in and ask, well, what do other people charge? You're like, I don't know
yeah.
what other people charge, but
I get that question too, especially with Aquatek. Somebody will ask me like, "Well, what should I be charging?" And I'm like, "I don't know your area.
Right,
This
it
is
is
what I
very
charge.
area.
Right, this is what I charge in Orlando, and apparently it's getting too much because there's so many people here now, and they're just racing to the bottom. That no, I mean, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, $2,000 for ceramic coating was like okay, and now it's like, ooh, that's a bit much, because there's so many people doing them for
Mhm.
under $1,000. So it definitely depends on the area, but um, yeah, I mean that's a good thing that sometimes you can have that conversation. Well, so and so's charging this much, and so and so's charging that much. Find a happy medium. Um,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, I mean, like any business, you don't want to be the cheapest guy, and you probably don't want to be the most expensive guy. Somewhere right in the middle, between that for your skill and your labor and your
yeah,
experience is the right number.
yeah,
I tell a lot of detailers, please don't race to the bottom. Just don't lower your prices so much that you're just beating yourself up. Like you got to hold the line somewhere.
yeah,
You're putting in a lot of work. Your equipment is not cheap. You're going through a lot of hassle. You got to hold the line. Don't you? You got to have,
yeah.
you have worth, and you can't
Right, and
you
that's the
can't bring
That's the
bring yourself
thing I
down.
think a lot of people don't really understand it is, and I talk to a lot of detailers that are kind of like, that whole $20 is $20, hey, I might only be charging $150 to do this detail. Flashback to last episode. Um, but that's $150 I made today. If I made $150 every day for 5 days, that's more than I'm making flipping burgers at McDonald's, or making donuts at Dunkin' Donuts, or whatever, right? So some detailers look at it that way, and they don't. And that's where I think the business side of this is something that is very hard in this industry, because a lot of detailers get into it. It's a very low bar of entry, right? I mean,
Mhm.
you can go to the refinery and buy a bucket and some soap, and all of a sudden you're a detailer, right? So
Right.
um, so they don't have that business sense, and they don't understand that, okay, hey, even if I'm a mobile guy, or even if I'm doing it out of my garage, like, you're still paying a mortgage, you're still paying a car note, you're still paying gas, you're still paying electricity, you're still paying all these things. So that $150 that you just spent all day doing a detail on, at the end of it's not $150,
Yeah.
when you really break it down. And I think a lot of detailers don't see that. And it's something I've talked about before on the podcast, is everybody wants to go to a paint correction training, right? Everybody. Because that's the satisfying part, making
Hmm.
paint shiny again. Almost nobody, very small percentage, wants to go to business training.
Mm.
Oh, it's
Yep.
Boring. Yeah.
boring, it's yawning, like,
Yep.
I'm myself included. Like, I'll start to read stuff, and immediately my mind is like
Oh, gone. Yeah.
somewhere else, right? So yeah, I mean, with the whole, like, pricing structure, it's tough and it's hard, because some people don't know where they should be. Like you said, John, shoot for the middle. That's what I used to do. Now I kind of shoot for the middle of the middle and high.
Mhm.
I don't want to be middle, but I don't want to be high. I want to be a little bit, in between there.
I
I
think
feel
your
like,
experience level you have to be somewhere in your
yes,
journey, your experience journey, to be middle high.
yes.
Like, and you have to just be good. Like, at the end of
Well,
the day, you can't
right. And I
suck at
and I
this.
also look at it as, it's like you mentioned, right? It's my time. It's the one thing I'm not going to get back. So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to get paid for it. And there's a lot of times that, people are like, "Oh my gosh, you're just too expensive." And I'm like, "That's fine." Like, to me, I always say, like, my clientele is the Ruth Chris customer, not the McDonald's customer, right? Like, and whatever, throw whatever fancy restaurant you want in there, like, but it's, like, I want the guy that's going to pay $20 for a cheeseburger, not $1 for a cheeseburger,
Right. Of
right?
course.
Like, I said that to a guy one time, and he's like, "I don't eat cheeseburgers." I was like, "All right, I don't
That's
get
not the
$20,
point.
That's not the
$20 chicken sandwich or $1 chicken sandwich. I don't care. Pick, make, what do you eat?
Yeah.
Well, because this is what in my experience, this is what happens. If you lower your price to a certain point, then your customers try to beat you up a little bit more, and now you're doing, usually bigger jobs for less money, and that's going to be the client that wants something redone, or it's going to blame you
Yes,
for something getting
yes,
scratched. They're
yes.
going to be the biggest headache. They're going to blow you up on Messenger or text at weird times of the day. Like, they're not going to respect your time, they're not going to
Yeah,
respect you.
Can you
And
detail
can you
tomorrow?
detail, I need something
yeah,
done tomorrow morning, can you be here? And it's like,
right.
so now you've set yourself up, you've got this low paying job that's sucking up all your time, and they're the biggest headache.
Yeah,
So it's, once again, once you move somewhere to the middle, and I'm not discrediting, if you can do volume fast and it's inexpensive, and you got a team of guys and you can knock out 20 details in a day, and you're just doing basic stuff, then yeah, keep your costs down
oh yeah,
and
yeah,
make it in turns.
yeah,
But if you're just you got one or two guys on your team, maybe you're mobile, you got to shoot for middle, because those clients respect you, they respect your equipment and time and cost, and you're actually going to be making what it's worth to do the labor, to do the work.
right, right. And that kind of again goes back to the $20 cheeseburger, dollar cheeseburger. I've told a buddy of mine, numerous times. I'm like, dude, you cannot lower your prices, because when I think about, if I'm charging $2,000 for a ceramic coating and somebody's paying for that, that's somebody who's done their due diligence. and knows proper ceramic coating takes multiple days, multiple hours, should cost a lot. It shouldn't be $500. You've done in 30 minutes kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know when and again, the type of clientele that's paying that much money is the type of clientele that doesn't have time for anything else, right? So they come, they pick up the car. Oh my God, wow, Alex, looks great. Let me rip you off a couple of Benjamins here and let me go, right? And the guy that you're giving the discount to, like you said, is going to walk around the car because they got a discount, but they're expecting that $2,000 job.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're going to go this, that, and that. And that happened. My buddy called me just absolutely just pitching a fit, wanted to gripe in my ear because he did that. He gave somebody who is a friend of a friend of a cousin of an uncle of a whoever, right? A cheap job or a discounted job, won't say cheap. And then the guy came back and spent 30 minutes. Like, why wasn't this done? How come you didn't do this? What about that? What about that? And then, like you said, John, then my buddy's like, got to reschedule it to come back in to fix all those things. So then the guy's there again, pitching more and more and
And now
more.
you're just in the hamster wheel.
Right, right,
Yeah.
exactly. So, when you and listen, I've said it before, I'll continue to say it, you know, the $50 guy, the $100 guy, the whatever dollar guy, there's a client, right? There's a seat for every ass, So I mean, there's a client for you. I don't want that client. So you
Right.
go ahead and do that. Where I get a little upset is when I see those and again, like car washers, I'll call them, they're the guys that I don't care about. Do that $50 car wash, do that $100 wash and wax, do what, $79 interior, whatever. When you start getting into selling coatings and you're doing coatings for $300 or $400, that's where, to me, it's and that's fine. For some reason that's all you can charge, but I feel like they're doing a client a disservice at that point because they're not putting the time and effort to do a coating right. Then what happens is the coating fails. So let's say somebody comes and buys whatever brand coating from you guys. They go out and charge a client $300, slap it on there because they don't care. It's $300. Now that coating doesn't last. The coating fails. Now all of a sudden the coating company gets a bad rep because now that guy takes his car to a professional detailer or another professional detailer and they go, well, you don't have a coating on there or whatever. And they're like, well, this guy just put, insert coating name here on 6 months ago, and then that guy's on the Facebook groups like insert coding name here, absolutely garbage. Here's no water behavior, video, yada yada yada. So it's funny. Joe Kimball was on Facebook today, pissing and moaning about map pricing, and while I kind of agree with him, it definitely is hard to do map pricing because again, like everybody in this comment said, somebody in SoCal can get this much money and
Right.
somebody in BFE Idaho is not. So,
Right.
uh,
We see the differences, and we're still in the Metroplex.
yeah,
So, I mean, they're just having stores in two different locations in the Metroplex. We already see different valuations for different jobs.
yeah,
And that's just in a kind of a centralized area. I mean, that's
Yeah, the stores are 45 minutes away from each other, and
and,
it's totally different audience in both and
yeah,
demographics and price points.
that's the crazy point of it. I mean, you could be. I mean, like where my shop is in a decent area, but if I drive 2 miles east, then I'm in the ghetto. So it just depends on, how it is.
yeah.
What's a brand that you guys like really want to bring on board, but just haven't been able, to either pull the trigger yet or get the connection or whatever? Like, what's that? Like, oh man, if we had that brand, it would be awesome.
Oh man, that one's a tough one because there's a lot of negotiations with a lot of different brands, kind of still in the works. But I actually haven't since rebranding to the Refinery. I haven't talked to your buddy over at Sky's the Limit. I haven't talked to CarPro yet.
Okay.
So that one is going to be a big one. It's super popular here. But I've just, I'm just between everything else and getting this the second location open for us and construction and all that. It's just one brand that I haven't even sent an email out to yet. So
Yeah.
probably CarPro would be a big one for us. A lot of people
Nice.
love their coatings, and then a lot of their just maintenance products.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've used CarPro on and off in my career. In fact, my first ceramic coating that I learned how to do was from Corey. It was when I was still working at the car wash. And this was when, God, Corey was still so new. I think he was only distributing CarPro at the time, and he was doing it out of his garage in his house. Um,
That's
and
awesome.
and it was funny. My buddy Brian, or my cousin Brian, was like one of the first handful or so finest installers in the Seattle area, Tacoma area. And so when we were looking at the car wash to kind of progress into what I at the time called new style detailing, because we were still rotaries and polishes with filler and all of, it's the big. I mean, I think we had progressed from the big 16-pound orbitals to like little handheld orbitals, palm sanders or whatever. But to me, that was still like 1970s detailing. And when some of my buddies were like, using Rupes machines and ceramic coating, Ceramic Pro was really big at that time. Um, my cousin Brian was like, yeah, this guy Corey, I think he's like right down near you somewhere in Florida. And then like he happened to be like 10 miles away or whatever. And so I reached out to Corey and I told him what we wanted to do at the car wash. And he actually came to the car wash one morning and did a Seaquartz UK demo on one of the owners of the car wash hood so we could see how to do it. And that was my very first interaction with CarPro and Seaquartz. And then I went back and forth, like I would use somebody else and it wouldn't work out. And I'd go back to UK, and then I finally eventually got the opportunity to be a pro installer, and it was great. And then I got the opportunity to join Aquatek, and then Corey was like, conflict of interest, can't do both. And I was like, I make more money at Aquatek at this
Yeah.
than selling a coating on a car. I'd rather make commission. So yeah, but again, I mean, he's so close to me, like it's hard not to still use them and buy stuff from them. So it's a
and, and
great.
we and we see that all the time too, especially with coatings. Is some of our pros will come in and they use one type of coating all the time, but then they catch a hair and they go, you know what, I want to try something new.
Yeah,
And having different products, having different options for people allows them to do that. They can just try it out and maybe they go back. Like you said, you use UK a couple times, it works out great, but then you try something else, you flip flop. So
yeah,
but that's the joy of this. You should be trying different things and trying different products, and don't get so kind of stuck in your lane that you don't get to experience what other brands are offering. And don't be afraid to go back to them too, because if you try 3-4 things and it's not working, you can always go back to your tried and true.
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's one thing that we really wanted to do too. Is we have lots of people who come into the store and say, "What's new?" Well, nothing, because we're not allowed to bring in anything new.
Yeah,
But now it's like we can bring in whatever we want, and we can bring in new, not just new products from the current brands that we offer, but we can bring in a whole new brand. And that's really what we want to do. We want to bring more and better opportunity and offerings to DFW. And so now we get to do that. And there's actually a brand that we met in SEMA. They were in the new vendor
Mhm.
hall called Waxed Shine,
okay,
and they really resonated with us and with John especially. And they just happen to match our color, so like that's super convenient too.
It's like half the
But
battle.
yeah, color matching. But they had a great assortment of brands, and they had some polishers, they had compounds, they had some professional grade coatings. Like they've been around for a little while. I mean, it's been since November now, so I don't remember all the details. I remember in that booth, the lady gave me a pair of SEMA earrings. So like that made my entire SEMA trip basically. And John did all the rest of talking about all the products while I just got excited about a pair of earrings from them. But no,
Right.
they were awesome. So we want to get connected with them. We haven't really had an opportunity to connect with them as much. But they were a good brand that we, had a circle and a star and a dash mark, and we
Yeah,
need them for real.
I think they were a brand that wouldn't maybe be something that everybody knows. Like it's not gonna shake your podcast that we said that we'd like to bring them in, right? It's just I don't think they have that name recognition, but their product line was fantastic, and I think it fills a lot of gaps with a few different lines that we carry, as well as some machines that look absolutely fantastic. Got to check them out there.
Yeah.
And so, I just don't think they have any type of a presence where you can just walk into a store and check it out. And so that's the other side of it too. Having the brick and mortar locations, people can hold these bottles in their hand and look at them and see them, and we'll open them up and we'll try them on your car right here. I don't care. It takes the risk out of ordering online. You look at a company's website, you look at that bottle, you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to pull the trigger on this and have it suck. Like, it's just, but you can go into our store and if you have a question, we're just going to open that bottle and go, I don't know, man, let's give it a go. Let's see what it's about.
No, and like I said before, that's really good because it's hard, again, online. I mean, I've definitely seen detailers, buy a product and then, they're on Facebook, with a picture of it, like, full bottle, who wants it, come and get it because I'm not shipping it or whatever. And you're like, why didn't you like it? And they're like, because it dusted. Like really, like
And that goes
like,
back to personal preference though too. Like you develop certain personal preferences for what you expect
you
a
do,
certain product
yeah,
to do, and that becomes your world, and anything else won't compare anymore because it's not meeting this personal expectation that you've set.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're exactly right. So that's cool. That's cool.
There's a
And you said like they might not have a big preference or a big presence in whatever being, maybe a smaller brand or whatnot. But I've learned that you never know because there's a lot of times like people mention a name and they're like, have you ever heard of that? And I'm like, no, like, is it brand new or whatever? And I'm like, no, it's been out for years. And like, you look and it's like got a huge, like
Mm-hmm.
I look at the detailing industry very much like high school. There are different, there's the jock table, there's the nerd table, there's the cheerleader table, there's all these different tables. And a lot of times if you're not sitting at that table, you never know what's going on. Like I learned that definitely about, there's a difference I feel between the detailers I know on Facebook, which I feel are like, and again, this is just the people I know. I feel like they're the people in the industry. They're the ones that that you've heard of. You've heard the name, you've seen the brands, you've seen whatever, right? Then there's Instagram detailers, which maybe are the same people, maybe are a little bit not. And then there's TikTok detailers, which is a completely different world of people I've never heard of in my entire life, but yet here they are on TikTok, doing lives and making these. So I feel like it's the same with brands too. I mean, there's a million of them out there, and just because you don't know it doesn't mean that they're not big on some kind of platform because just because I didn't know this person, but yet on TikTok they've got like 100,000 followers and they're doing lives every night and
right.
whatever, kind of thing. So yeah,
One thing we did too, as we were getting ready to rebrand, and before we even let anybody know, like, hey, if we had something else in our store, what would it be? What should it be? What should we bring in that would support you? What do you think other detailers in DFW need? Like, I was a supervisor at my corporate job beforehand. And so one thing I hated before I was a supervisor was I never got a say in anything. I was doing the work, my team members were doing the work, and the bosses were making the decision without ever knowing what it is that we as the workers were doing or how
Right.
their decisions impacted us. And I hated that because, then you're just stuck doing whatever it is your boss tells you to do because they don't freaking know and they just made a decision. So when I became a supervisor, no matter what we did, I always asked my team, is this the best thing that could help you or could we do something different? And so that is how I approach things. That's how we approach things. Like, it's not us. We're not telling our customers what to use. We're asking them, how can we better support you? What
Right.
brands should we be bringing in here? And we endlessly heard Lake Country. Endlessly, we heard Lake Country. So we bring in Lake Country, and we have pads in the store already, and we'll be bringing on the rest of their line. And then Angel Wax came across multiple times. And so we met Angel Wax. Of course, they were on our list for going to SEMA. I studied that damn SEMA map and like made a list of everybody and like, okay, we need to hit these people. And as we were at SEMA and I had this long list, I was like, okay, we're not visiting these people. We're not visiting these people. We just don't have time to visit all of them. We'll have to call them. But Angel Wax was one of those that we wanted to go visit. And so we did, of course, and we met them. And then, of course, we chatted with them a little bit when we were at the restaurant when we caught up with you guys. So
Yeah.
Angel Wax came across. So I really want to bring them on. They're one that we haven't connected with since SEMA also. But yeah, they have a really robust product line and something that I think can really serve our clients well. I think they offer a lot of coatings. I think it'd be great to have their coatings in, and just the kind of the assortment that they carry, I think is a good assortment, and it's branded well and it looks nice. I think it would look good in our, not just look good in our store, function well too, but
Yeah.
appearance is an important one. And it's not just about us researching brands to bring in and reach out to them. We've had multiple brands reach out to us now that they've realized that we aren't in a detailing world anymore and said, I couldn't reach out to you before, but now I can. And let's set up a meeting so that we can talk about products in your store.
That's awesome.
So it's really encouraging and like, wow, people noticed. Somebody noticed because they're reaching out to us on our website or they're reaching out to us on Instagram or Facebook and saying, hey, I noticed you rebranded. Would you be willing to have a conversation with us? So, we're talking to Car Candy right now. They're out of Florida. I don't know if you have experience with Car Candy.
Oh yeah, Megan. I know Megan. I mean, I know Megan previously from Auto Geek.
Yeah. I heard she's the COO or something over there. Or
Yeah. So Megan's she's COO, whatever. I think Ashley is the owner. I think that's her name, Ashley. Yeah, she's the owner, and so she hired Megan on to help her grow Car Candy like she did with Auto Geek, because Megan was at Auto Geek for God, I want to say she was there like 20 years or something like that.
Yeah. I remember talking to a guy named Mike, one of their sales reps. But yeah, we have a meeting with him on Monday.
Yeah. But no, yeah, they're like an hour and a half from me.
Okay, have you used some of their stuff too?
I have not a ton. I've used a few of their things. It's good stuff. They have a really good non-acid wheel cleaner. I think it's called Brown. Or maybe that's just what everybody calls it.
That's interesting.
It's a brown wheel cleaner, but it works really well. I mean, it's not like an iron wheel cleaner; it's just a straight up non-acid wheel cleaner. Like that stuff's really good. I can't remember what else I've used because it's been a while since I've used any of their stuff.
Well, they reached out, and Pi Crystal, a new company out of Italy trying to make their way into the U.S., reached out, and Nizol, is that how you say that?
Yeah, Naziol.
Yeah. I guess I'm putting the I in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
Naziol and gosh, somebody else I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really tough because you only have X amount of space, and we are trying to create quality over quantity. Just because we can get set up as a distributor of someone's brand just doesn't mean that that's what we want to do.
Right.
There are some mainstays that are industry standards that every store probably should have. Just because they are your top brands. But the mix that I would like to create is you have your industry standards, and then we have other really great brands that you should know. Like these other great brands, you should be giving them a try. There's no reason why they can't also be industry standards. And so having that mix that in store is a great experience because usually people come in and they get something from a couple different groups. They're not just going to KCX. They're not just going to PS. You know, they are just, you know, going, oh, I like their wheel cleaner, I like their interior cleaner, and
Yeah.
you know, want to try something else. So, you know, once again, having a couple of those other ones in there is important.
Yeah. So, to kind of start wrapping up, um, with having 2 stores and them being 45 minutes apart, I mean, is it just the 4 of you? So 2 of you tackle one store, 2 of you tackle the other store for now? I mean, is there employees, or
No,
you guys, like,
There's no
getting
employees. This is like one of the fun parts about being a small business owner, and especially one that you thought when you first started was going to be X thing and didn't go the way that you anticipated. And so you retry, and then that retry isn't what it was presented to be. And so you try again. And so here we are, feel like we're starting all over again. And we actually did have an employee for about 6 months. Um, Maybe, yeah, somewhere in there. And before we needed to rebrand the first time. And so we haven't got to the point yet where we're able to hire people yet, but we do split our days in the stores, and we are closed on Sundays. So everyone has Sunday off. And I think people who aren't from Texas or maybe the general South area don't understand that pretty much everybody is closed on Sundays. So when we tell people we're closed on Sundays, they're like, you're missing out on a big sales day. I'm like, listen, nobody is open in Texas
Hey,
on a Sunday.
look, if Chick-fil-A can be closed on a Sunday and still outsell
Yep.
every fast food restaurant in the world with
Then a little,
a smaller amount of stores too, then yeah, you guys could
Yep.
do it.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
we did a short Sunday when we first opened. We did like 10 to 2 or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And it was only marginally beneficial. And then we said to ourselves, this business also needs to benefit us. It is not just about making money every single day. We need time off. We have a son. We need a family day. My parents go to church every Sunday, and we don't need to be having this run around back and forth. Our detailers are going to have to plan ahead, and you know, Mondays are much busier now because we're closed on Sundays, right? And then, you know, it creates the urgency to come in on Sundays. But yeah, it's just us. We have plans for this business to be able to hire people, because it is difficult to work on the business and in the business at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
To hire staff members, whether it's detailers or just someone at least who loves detailing, loves the automotive industry, and likes working with people, because we can train them. You can't train the personality to somebody. So somebody with the right personality who's willing to learn and be able to bring those things on. I mean, that's one of the things. We've made really great connections in the community with a lot of people. So we have people who are like, hey, are you hiring? When you are, let us know. I'd love to, you know, see if we can work together. Of course, everybody's like that. Everybody wants to work in a fun environment, and we're super fun to work with and to work for. But yeah, it does make it more of a challenge when you're trying to grow and do the work at the same time.
Yeah,
With,
you
know,
should you should just put a thing out for, you know, any of the detailers that if they've got an off day, they can come and work for a discounted you know, price in the store or something like that.
Well, we have other big plans for our detailers too. Like, we want to offer a business to business program, right? So we offer a loyalty rewards program, but that's for anybody who comes and shops in the store. But for our detailers, who this is what they're doing to, you know, earn a living, we want to be able to help them out. And so we want to offer, you know, John's working on that now, a tiered program for people, and, you know, create some loyalty there for them too, but it also helps our business, helps their business, you know, kind of like you're both scratching each other's back, or whatever the saying is. But yeah, we're working it, and we would love to see more refineries pop up. That's like
so that's
so far away.
So that was going to be kind of the next thing I jumped into with. Obviously, this is brand new, but is there a, you know, 2-year, 5-year, 10-year plan where you guys open more in the area? Or is this something that maybe you guys, after following 2 other models, go, we have a really good model, so hey, Alex, if you want to open a refinery in Orlando, or, you know, somebody wants to open a refinery in California or whatever, then they can buy in franchise from you?
Absolutely, that is something that we're looking at, and once again, we've kind of taken all the things that we've learned from even not just the ones that we were involved in, but hearing stories for other similar stores and kind of adding all the things that work well together and scrapping all the things that don't, and really coming up with a model that does work a lot better, a little bit more efficient. The one thing that I think we've learned from a couple of these iterations is that they all say, "Oh, we offer great support. We're going to help you. We're going to help you with your marketing. We're going to walk you through this." None of that existed.
Yeah.
So, we really did have to kind of do this on our own and figure this out and figure out marketing and social media and because we're still not great at any of those things. We're learning every day. But there's a lot of stuff that if we were to open up a store would come with actual support. Like if you weren't in the retail space before, because we weren't, there's a lot of stuff that we've learned and a lot of stuff that we've taken from other individuals that have taught us along the way, that is insanely informative. And if we do open more stores, which that would be the plan down the road, it will come with absolute real support, whether it be planning those car events or planning those industry nights and how to make those effective for your group, for your community, is what will be important for us. So it'll be an extension of what we currently do, hopefully just more of them.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. And not even just that, but like business support as like, here's how you order inventory. Here's how you use your POS system. Like it won't just be like, here it is, figure it out. And nobody said figure it out, but there was, here it is. And then like walk away. And you're like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna figure this out on my own. And then like, here's the way to upload.
I mean, we gave you a manual. Didn't you read the manual?
Man.
Excuse me, sir. We gave you a manual. Whew.
Yeah, I mean,
one location gave us a manual.
Yeah.
The other one, I don't know if they know how to spell manual.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I mean, it's we're eyeing that, and just there's a right way and a wrong way to do everything, and we don't always get it right. We haven't, obviously, but we've taken those mistakes, learned from them, and moving forward can save people from making other really costly mistakes.
Yeah. And I believe I asked you this a couple of weeks ago, but I don't know if the answer's changed. You guys aren't coming to MTE, right?
I'm gonna give you the same. I'm gonna give you the same answer. I don't know. You're now the second vendor.
3 weeks away.
I know. You think we planned SEMA 3 weeks out?
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. We had that planned out.
We have a 5-year-old about to be a 6-year-old next week, and school and young child and 2 stores with 4 people, as we've just described, makes it very difficult. But if one or both of us can sneak out there, we might do that. When we did SEMA, we flew out the night before, one day at the show, flew out the next morning. So I mean,
so we totally lucked out by just running into you guys.
We caught you guys at night, and we left at like 5 a.m. for a flight back to Dallas.
Gotcha. Wow.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was fading that night. I was super.
We all kind of were. It was a rough first day. I believe it was pretty chilly that night too, and especially from a Florida boy being around some Northerners who were, telling me to quit being a lady part, and all that fun stuff. So yeah, that's it. I don't have any more questions. I appreciate you guys coming on and doing this. It was great to meet you at SEMA. Look forward to potentially working with you guys with Aquatek and maybe making a trip out to Dallas for something other than cheerleading.
Yeah.
Because that's the only time I come to Dallas is for cheerleading.
Well, when you're here for cheerleading, let us know. We'll take you out.
I will. Unfortunately, we won't be there this year. This year we do Atlanta. Well, I don't even get to go anymore. Because we have a dog and a cat, so somebody's got to stay home now with the animals. So it's easier for the wife to go with Haley. So they're going to Atlanta this year and Nashville. So hopefully next year she'll get back on a team that goes to Dallas, because Dallas is kind of fun, even as hectic as it is.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, more than likely, if we end up doing something with Aquatek, I'll probably come out to you guys for Aquatek long before I come out to you for cheerleading. So
Yeah, that's I mean that's even better, honestly, because I don't know what to do about cheerleading. I've never
yeah,
cheerleaded.
yeah, yeah. Well, most of the time we don't get to leave like that whole downtown area around the convention because it's just like
Oh,
you. I mean, it's not like we can't leave, but it's just from the minute you wake up, depending on when comp time is, it's you're doing something with the team or for the team or getting ready for the comp time, and then and then it's back to the hotel, crash out. So yeah, it's a pretty exhausting weekend.
yeah.
But yeah, I look forward to potentially working with you guys with Aquatek and doing something there. I appreciate you guys coming on because I haven't yet had somebody come on that had a brick and mortar store. I mean, yes, I've had Corey on with Sky's the Limit. I've had Greg on with Detailed Image. But those are kind of bigger, online presences. So it's interesting to, kind of get that more smaller mom and pop, brick and mortar style kind of, experience in the detailing world. So appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us. Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah.
It is, having the stores is, I think, different than Sky's the Limit and Detailed Image and all those, because we kind of are at the street level. I mean, we just talk to all the guys that are putting in the work. These guys that are have aspirations to have a brick and mortar location, or they're just a mobile guy right now, or they're just starting out. We're kind of like that first line of defense to get people going down a good path and not making poor decisions with their product or their technique or whatever the case may be. So it's a different atmosphere, I think, for us because we're that last line from the main distributors, and it's interesting. It's like I said, we learn stuff every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, it's awesome. Well,
visit us like in another 4 to 6 months if we can come back on. I mean, because we just started the refinery, so we are, we're 10 days in here for our Prosper store and about 20 days in for our North Richland Hill store.
Hopefully, we'll be talking about how Aquatek is just flying off the shelves.
It will
and
yeah.
I don't know how many more times I can say Aquatek in this.
I know, right? If we could just get it, it's like.
I know. I need a. What are those? We'll make it a drinking game. Go back and re-listen to this.
Where do we get a hoodie? How do we get an Aquatek hoodie? Or T-shirt? I don't need a hoodie.
It was another name drop. So
yeah, I'll talk. I'll talk to Jason from Aquatek for you.
Yeah. Is that where he's from? He's from Aquatek?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Okay.
Yeah. No, I wish you guys luck. It seems like you guys are kind of doing it for the right reasons and everything. So I wish you guys luck. I hope everybody in the DFW area. I do have a pretty decent listenership in the whole state of Texas. I don't know what the breakdown is now for DFW because I just switched my hosting platform and it doesn't break down by cities anymore. Otherwise, I could tell you how many people would listen to this episode in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So yeah, anybody who's in Dallas, go check them out. Please support them and buy some Aquatek.
Please,
from them.
yes, go buy some Aquatek.
And if you're not in the DFW area, that's okay. Visit our website, refineryds.com, and we ship all over the place. So you don't have to be in the DFW area. If you are, great. We'd love to see you. Stop in, check us out. But you know what? We ship too. So
perfect. That's good to know. Awesome. All right. Guys, have a great night.
You too.
I scheduled this and didn't realize that there is a playoff game going on right now. So I think Ohio State is up. Last time I checked, 14-7. So I'm going to go finish watching that. But
okay. Well, thank you for your time. Honestly, thank you for your time.
You guys have a great rest of your evening and enjoy the weekend.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
Bye.